Chairmen of Power Generation Companies of Nigeria. Mr. President, your visitors here today are the Chairman, before the leader of the delegation takes over, the Honorable Minister Max. Heads of government agencies here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I have a short opening remarks that will set the tone and perspective for this all-important meeting with our esteemed stakeholders from the power sector. On behalf of the entire Federal Ministry of Power, and indeed the wider electricity supply industry, NESI, I wish to begin by conveying my deepest gratitude to Your Excellency, Mr. President, for graciously making out time from your busy schedule to meet with the major stakeholders and shareholders of the nation's generating companies today. Your presence here is a clear testament to your unwavering commitment to the sustainability, stability, and long-term development of Nigeria's power sector, a sector that remains central to our national economic aspirations, as you stated in Your Excellency's Renewed Hope agenda. Your Excellency, without taking much of your time, sir, permit me to further express our profound appreciation for your steadfast support, which has enabled Nigeria power sector to record several critical milestones under your administration in less than 2 years. Notable among these are decentralization and liberalization of the sector, which has resulted in the activation of 12 state electricity markets, which was made possible with the Electricity Act of 2023, which is the first bill you signed into law on resumption of office in 2023. The development and launching of a national integrated electricity policy for the country after 24 years. Attraction of over $2 billion in fresh investments into the sector to further extend electricity access in the country. Commencement of the process to transition the industry towards full commercialization, which increased the sector's revenue by 70%, from 1 trillion naira in 2023 to 1.7 trillion naira by the end of 2024. And this also reduced government liability in the sector by 700 billion naira in terms of subsidy obligations. Increase in the country's installed capacity for energy generation from 13 gigawatts to 14 gigawatts, and the attainment of an all-time generation peak of 5,801 megawatts, and the maximum daily energy record ever in this country of 128,370 megawatt hour on the March 4, 2025. This was due to Zungeru, the new hydropower company in Zungeru of 700 megawatts, and we also just recently launched and commissioned the AFAM 2 by Sarah Energy, which you actually commissioned for them about 2 months ago, thanks to Sarah Energy. Stabilization of the national grid through the activities of the Presidential Power Initiatives, which we all know as Siemens project, that has added over 700 megawatts of transmission capacity to the grid capacity. We have recorded zero grid collapse since the beginning of this year, these 8 months running. We are all aware of what we passed through last year due to vandalization of our national assets. Successful mobilization of 700 billion naira funding from FAC allocation to implement the Presidential Metering Initiative aimed at tackling the sector's long-standing metering gap, which has been affecting industry liquidity. This is complemented by the World Bank Distribution Sector Recovery Program, DSREP, fund of $500 million that is adding additional 3.45 million meters to the sector. Procurement of these meters have started, and we have received about 300,000 meters from DSREP, while PMI has actually reached advanced stage in the procurement process. Your Excellency, I would like to stop here on these achievements. There are a number of them, but to take our time, if I have to list them one after the other. Your Excellency, sir, despite these remarkable milestones, the sector continues to grapple with significant challenges. The most pressing of these challenges is the growing indebtedness to our valued generation companies, which is the primary basis for this meeting. The debt burden not only constrains operational efficiency, it also discourages the much needed investment across the entire electricity and power sector value chain. In my several engagements with the generating companies, at ownership and management level, individually and collectively, I have assured them severally of the federal government's commitment to addressing the outstanding debts and the other critical sectoral issues. I want to thank them for their support. Anyway, they've been quite cooperative. They've been cooperating, collaborating, and partnering with us. And the modest improvement we have recorded under your administration, our story will not be completed without thanking the generating companies. Thank you.
Important dialogue. It reminds me, Your Excellency, that we are due a Presidential Economic Coordination Council meeting at which some of these broader issues would be discussed. And of course, I will get on with trying to arrange that into your busy schedule. What we have heard today, particularly from Mr. Tony Elumelu, as well as Dr. Adeshino and others, if we look at it broadly, sir, it is a testimony to your modus operandi and your leadership, confronting long-standing, sticky, vexatious problems which some have avoided or ignored or been unable to deal with. Of course, that applies to your macroeconomic reforms. It applies, as we have heard, to the power sector and the long-standing debts since 2015 that nobody would deal with. And I must add, looking at what Tony Elumelu said, that it's important to recognize and to celebrate milestones, and of course, important to communicate them. In this sector, as the SA Energy has said, a long-standing issue is now being dealt with. And I can say, and I can assure you, that we expect it to take a matter of weeks, given your approval for the liquidity solution, subject, as we have heard, subject to verification. But we do have a 4 trillion Naira structured arrangement to effectively resolve the liquidity challenges in this sector through a bond issuance program. And the proceeds, as we have said, will deal with the legacy. The industry has a pivotal central role to play, and going forward, we do have to resolve how to get on to a situation that provides adequate liquidity for investment. Mr. President, sir, you, I know, believe, as does the World Bank President, Ajay Banga, that electricity is a human right. And on that basis, you will do everything you can, as you are doing, to resolve the current situation. You will, going forward, find a path to a viable energy sector. Thank you.
From where I sit, I see a lot happening. I tell Mr. President that in the oil and gas sector of this country, a lot has happened in the past 2 years. I'm not a politician, so I'm not speaking like one, but a lot has happened. Some of you here know I'm an investor in the oil and gas sector. We generate over 58,000 barrels of oil every day. Mr. President, before you took over to 2023, people here know, I shouted on social media, I tweeted that we were producing and losing 97% of our oil production. 97, Mr. President, over 50,000 barrels, 97%. Mr. President, every month we do what is called fiscalization. Last month, for month of June, and SA Energy will know this, we got 98%. So 2% loss is significant. People don't know this, but it takes time. for people to know what's going on. So whenever I have the opportunity, I say it as it is. Power is so critical. You know, Mr. President, with the energy we have in this country, youth energy, youth population, the stability you're bringing, this country will take off. Some generating companies are indebted to banks. Banks are threatening to foreclose them. Not that these guys are not doing well. They are doing well. Government owing them, the system owing them big trillions. The hydro companies, Ayo, you know, Mr. President, this man, Ayo, he doesn't let people rest. Ayo is saying they should pay concession fee. The Zach is not here. Zach is saying that he's closing companies for not paying tax. We say, Zach, where would they pay tax now when revenues now they are not getting paid? And staff salaries impaired, you know, spare parts difficult and co. So, sir, the Gencos have the patriotism, yes, the willingness and the capacity to do more in terms of power generation. The major issue, sir, is the debt. So, Mr. President, I know CME is trying. I know you're trying. You didn't create this problem, but please, sir, just so that we can complete and advance the transformation you've started. Power is critical for it. Please help look into this, sir.
Two things led to the accumulation of those debts. Unfunded tariff shortfalls and market shortfalls. We have since sat with 27 Gencos, not all of them are here today. There are 27 Gencos that our office sat with and reviewed their PPAs and their gas sales agreements to understand the legitimacy of their claims. The Gencos claimed about 4 trillion from 2015 to the end of 2023. We, on the government side, because NBET, one of the entities that was created to contractually sit between the Gencos and the federal government, then validated 1.8 trillion for that period. Since that period, we have had 200 billion in unfunded subsidies that have accumulated the federal government's liability. So as of April 2025, the total exposure that we are carrying at the moment is 4 trillion. Of the 1.8 that MBET has validated, there are challenges with those numbers. We will need to sit down with the Gencos and actually agree the contractual basis for making those payments. Not all of the money that MBET has validated is actually due. Some of it is deemed capacity, true-up, and interest rates on numbers that we really need to go into the next, which is the next phase of the engagements with the Gencos on the approval. So, sir, while there is an anticipatory approval of these 4 trillion bond programs, it is subject to negotiations and final settlement of agreements that we will have to sit, our office will sit with them. We've engaged the audit firms and the legal firms that will sit with us and negotiate a final settlement agreement, and the amounts that are actually validly owed by the federal government are the only things that will make it into the issuance by DMO. But as of today, what we're carrying is 4 trillion, but it's subject to downward revision, sir.
I commend all of you who had invested. We recognize the fact that without power, industrialization, and even human life is impossible. The power, I believe, is the most important discovery of humanity in the last 1,000 years. There's nothing that could, surpass that. I assure you, the economic will grow, and we will consume more energy. We'll be in position to pay our debts. We'll give you papers to trade, and they will give you utilize to ensure continuity in the business. Well, I've listened to the Minister of Power that we are improving, and I accept that. We are not where we should be yet, and the power generation. I'm glad I hear from you, the practitioners, that the economy is stable, predictable environment in the investment opportunity, and many of you don't have to know anybody in the CBN before you get your foreign exchange, and you are spending responsibly. And that is where we want Nigeria to go. And the destination is prosperity, bus stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you.